The streets of Daegu hum under a bruised sky, the summer of 2008 stretching its humid fingers across the city like a blanket too heavy to shake off. It's not yet dusk, but the light is fading fast, swallowed by clouds that hang low and sullen, promising rain that never comes. In a narrow alley off Daebongdong, where the asphalt cracks like old skin and the air smells of motor oil and fermenting soybeans, a coin clatters to the ground, a single one, dull and scratched, slipping from the trembling fingers of a 15-year-old Min Yoongi. It rolls, a wobbly arc of silver, before settling against a crumbling curb, glinting faintly in the dimness. He stares at it, breath shallow, his sneakers scuffed and soaked from a day of running errands. Delivering flyers for a butcher shop 3 blocks over, the kind of job that pays in loose change and calluses. That coin is all he has left, the last remnant of a week's labour meant to buy a new pair of earphones, the cheap kind that crackle but still carry the beats he clings to like a lifeline. He bends to pick it up, his shadow stretching thin and jagged across the pavement, and in that moment, a bitter memory takes root, a quiet, piercing sting that will echo through the years, shaping the rapper soul he doesn't yet know he'll become. This isn't a tale of grand stages or shadowed thrones, not yet. It's not about the cold smile that will one day haunt stadiums or the legacy that will crown him king. This is the story of the small, jagged cuts, the bitter memories that carved Min Yoongi into Suga, the rapper whose soul fans adore not for its polish, but for its scars. It's July 2025 now, and he stands atop Jamsil Stadium, mic in hand, spitting verses that roar with a fire forged from those early wounds. The crowd of 70,000 chants his name, their pride a tidal wave that lifts him higher. But here, in this alley of memory, he's just a boy with a coin and a dream, his heart a drumbeat no one else can hear. These bitter moments, unseen by the world, untold in interviews, are the crucible where his rapper soul was born. A soul that fans revere because it's raw, unyielding, and theirs to claim as proof that even the smallest pain can forge greatness. Yoongi pockets the coin, his fingers brushing the frayed edge of his jeans, and trudges homeward, the alley swallowing his footsteps. The butcher had tossed it to him with a grunt. "That's it, kid." And the weight of it, so light yet so heavy, burns in his chest. He'd spent hours under a sun that baked the city into a haze, weaving through traffic on a borrowed bicycle, its chain rattling like a warning. The flyers were garish, red ink bleeding into yellow paper, promising discounts on pork belly he'd never taste. His family's table more often held rice and kimchi, the kind his mother stretched thin with salt and patience. That coin was his ticket to the music, to the beats that drowned out the hum of a life he hated. A life where his father's silence was a wall, where his mother's tired eyes begged him to be practical, where the world saw a scrawny kid with no future. But now it's gone, lost to a misstep, and the bitterness of it coils around him like smoke. A memory that will linger long after the alley fades. Home is a squat 2-story building with peeling paint and a roof that leaks in the monsoon. A place where dreams are luxuries no one can afford. Yoongi pushes through the door, the hinges groaning a protest, and the air inside is thick with the scent of boiled barley and his father's cigarette smoke. His mother is at the stove, her back bent like a question mark, stirring a pot with a wooden spoon worn smooth by years. She doesn't look up as he slips off his sneakers, but her voice cuts through the quiet. "Did you eat?" It's not a question. It's a ritual, a shield against the things she can't ask. "Are you okay?" What's breaking you? He mumbles a yeah, though his stomach gnaws at itself, and heads for the stairs, the coin still clenched in his fist, like a secret he can't let go. His room is a closet of a space, its walls papered with dreams he's taped up in silence, lyrics scribbled on notebook scraps, a poster of Epic High torn at the edges, a calendar marked with days he's counting down to nothing. The keyboard sits in the corner, a second-hand beast he'd bartered for with months of odd jobs, its keys chipped like teeth in a fighter's mouth. He'd bought it from a pawn shop on the edge of town, haggling with a man whose breath reeked of soju, trading a stack of one for a machine that groaned under his touch. It's his sanctuary, his rebellion, but tonight it's silent. His earphones, the ones that broke last week, lie tangled on the floor, their wires frayed beyond repair. That coin was meant to fix this, to bring back the sound that keeps him sane, and its loss is a bitter knife twisting deeper. He sits on the edge of his bed, the springs creaking under his slight frame, and stares at the coin in his palm. It's not just money, it's time. Hours of sweat, of dodging scooters and barking dogs, of swallowing the butcher's disdain. It's the sound he can't hear tonight, the beats that drown out his father's voice from downstairs. Music won't feed you, Yoongi. Stop this nonsense. His father's words are a hammer, each syllable a blow that's chipped away at him since he first dared to dream. They'd fought that morning, his father slamming a fist on the table, his mother's eyes darting between them, pleading without words. You think you're some big shot? His father had sneered, ash falling from his cigarette. You'll end up begging on the street with that noise. Yoongi had bitten his tongue, the bitterness pooling in his throat, a memory that stings sharper than the coin's loss, a rejection that will fuel the rapper soul he's yet to claim. The next day, Yoongi skips school, not the first time, not the last, and heads to a basement on the edge of Daegu, a hole in the wall where the air is thick with mildew and the buzz of a single bulb swings overhead. It's not a stage, not really, just a patch of concrete flanked by folding chairs, a battered amp spitting static, a crowd of a dozen kids and drifters who've stumbled in from the heat. This is where Gloss begins, where Yoongi first grips a mic and lets his anger spill, not as Sugar, not yet, but as a boy with a borrowed name and a fire he can't contain. He'd heard about the cipher from a classmate, a wiry kid with a chipped tooth who'd bragged about spitting bars. You think you've got something? The kid had taunted, and Yoongi had nodded, the bitterness of his father's words still fresh, pushing him here. The mic is a relic, its foam peeling, its cord a snake that trips him as he steps up. The crowd jeers, a mix of skepticism and boredom, their eyes daring him to fail. He's no stranger to this. He's felt it in the butcher's grunt, in the teacher's sighs, in the silence of a house that doesn't understand. But here, he turns it outward. I'm the kid you'll never see, he spits, voice cracking at first, then steadying into a growl, stacking dreams while you sleep on me. The words are rough, unpolished, born from the coin's fall, from the father's scorn, from the nights he's clawed at that keyboard with no sound. They're not lyrics yet, just a stream of rage and want, but they hit the room like a fist, silencing the jeers, drawing nods from the shadows. He finishes, breath ragged, the mic dropping to his side as the amp whines in protest. There's no applause, just a murmur, a shift in the air, a flicker of respect from kids who've seen too little to believe in much. But as he steps down, a string snaps inside him, not a guitar, not a tangible thing, but a thread of hope he didn't know he'd tied to this moment. The classmate smirks, not bad, but you're nothing, and tosses him a one, another coin, another sting. Yoongi catches it, the metal cold against his palm, and the bitterness surges again. A memory of being dismissed, of pouring his soul into a void that spits back pennies. This isn't the triumph fans will one day cheer. It's the wound that will bleed into every verse, the echo that will shape the rapper's soul they'll come to love. 2 years later, 2010, another memory cuts deeper, a bitter shard that nearly shatters him. Yoongi, now 17, rides a motorbike through Daegu's outskirts, a delivery job to fund his music, the wind whipping his face as he balances a stack of takeout boxes. The sky is a slate of grey, the road slick with oil and promise, and he's humming a beat, something rough, something his, when the world tilts. A car veers from a side street, its horn a scream he doesn't hear until metal meets metal. The crash is a symphony of ruin, tires screeching, bones cracking, the bike skidding into a ditch as Yoongi slams into the pavement. His shoulder takes it, a jolt of white-hot pain that steals his breath, the boxes scattering like leaves in a storm. He lies there, rain starting to fall now, pooling around him in dark mirrors that reflect a sky he can't see. His vision blurs, the coin from 2 years ago flashing in his mind. Another loss, another dream slipping away. A woman's voice calls for help, distant and frantic, but Yoongi's world is the pain, the wet asphalt against his cheek, the fear that this is it. The hospital is a blur, antiseptic and fluorescent, a doctor muttering about fractures and rest, his mother's hand trembling as she grips his. "You're done with that bike," she says later, voice breaking, and his father's silence is louder than ever, a wall of disapproval that buries him deeper. He doesn't argue, he can't. The keyboard sits untouched for weeks, his shoulder a throbbing cage, and the bitterness of that fall, of losing sound again, seeps into his bones, a memory that will burn until he turns it into fire. July 2025, Jamsil Stadium. Sugar stands before the world, his mic a torch, his verses a blaze that lights the night. "I'm still here," he raps, and the crowd roars, their pride a thunderclap. 70,000 voices who see not just the star, but the soul shaped by bitter memories. The coin that fell, the father's scorn, the broken string, the crash, they're not defeats, they're the forge where his rapper soul was hammered into being. Fans don't cheer a flawless idol. They lift a man who turned pennies into anthems, who took silence and made it scream, who fell and rose with a fire that warms them all. These bitter memories didn't break Sugar. They built him, and in their echo, Army finds a pride that's fierce and unbreakable, a pride in a rapper soul, born from the dust, tempered by pain, and shining brighter for it. And so, as the rain falls harder in that Daegu night of 2010, pooling around a boy who refuses to break, the echoes of a bitter memory take root. A coin lost, a string snapped, a fire kindled in the dark. July 2025 may shine bright with Sugar's triumph, but it's these jagged shards of the past that carve the rapper soul fans hold dear. A soul that turns pennies into anthems and pain into pride. This is just the beginning, the first crack in the pavement of a journey that's far from over. The story of Sugar's soul doesn't end here. It's a saga too vast, too fierce, to fit in one breath. We've split this epic into chapters, each one a pulse-pounding dive deeper into the bitter memories that forged him, crafted with love and grit to speed up the editing and bring you the fire faster. So, hold tight, Army. Chapter 2 is coming, and it's packed with the raw, unfiltered beats of a borrowed mic and a dream on the edge of collapse. Don't miss a single drop of this tale. Keep your eyes peeled for the next chapter, because we're unraveling Sugar's soul one scar at a time. And trust us, it's going to hit harder than a Deutsche Wieter bass line. Craving more? Smash that like button, share this with your squad, and flood the comments with your thoughts, your wildest theories, your burning questions, your rawest reactions. Every word you leave below fuels us, shapes us, pushes this channel to soar higher for you. What bitter memory do you think struck Sugar next? What forged that unbreakable spirit you adore? Tell us. Your voice is the spark we need to make this journey legendary. Stay tuned, keep the faith, and let's rise together with Sugar's soul. See you in Chapter 2, where the fire burns hotter and the stakes climb higher.